This is Stephanie Ha from WISPolitics.com and WISPbusiness.com, welcoming you to a webcast conversation with the state's superintendent candidates. Special series we're doing in partnership with the Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition. The Tech Hub recognizes K-12 computer science education as vital to growing the region's technology economy. So ahead of the February 16th primary, we're going to see what the candidates have to offer. Each candidate will be asked the same 3 questions from the Tech Hub surrounding computer science in Wisconsin. The candidates did not see the questions ahead of time, nor did they hear each other's responses before recording. Jill Underly kicks off the webcast. She's the Pecatonica Area School District Administrator. That's in Blanchardville, located in Southwest Wisconsin. Jill, thanks for getting in the hot seat today.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here today. So thanks for coordinating this.
So every industry is undergoing some kind of digital transformation, and technological literacy is a gateway to upward mobility. However, technology and computer science standards are not consistently integrated into the expectations for a college and career-ready graduate. How is this specifically addressed by the equity-aligned priorities of your platform?
Sure. So as you mentioned, it's not specifically addressed. And part of that has to do with the fact that we have a lot of graduation requirements that are locally controlled. So unless a school district makes it a priority, or unless the state makes it a priority, it's not going to be in our graduation requirements. Coupled with that, there is a shortage of computer science and technology education teachers. It's, I think it just goes back to how we pay teachers. It's how we value that knowledge when they come into the classroom. And graduates of tech ed programs and graduates with computer science degrees could get a position anywhere else than in a public school and be able to earn a lot more money. So I think as far as equity is concerned, what we find is that the schools with the means, so the schools that can pay teachers well, or the school boards that put computer science as a priority, those schools are going to have those programs. And so what you'll find is that kids who graduate from the school districts that have computer science and strong technology education programs are going to be better suited for those well-paying jobs. So my platform looks at early childhood education, it looks at teacher education, recruitment and retention, looks at mental health, and looks at school finance. My platform would reinforce those values of equity by, for example, allowing school districts to have better school finance situations where they could implement, computer science programs. My school district at Pecatonica, we have computer science. We have, starting from the elementary levels, we have Project Lead the Way, but we also have a teacher who runs a Girls Who Code extracurricular for the elementary kids. We also have our business education teacher who has a strong computer science background, teaches 6th, 7th, and 8th grade robotics and other computer coding. And then in 9th grade, we have students eligible to take programming. And so by the time they're juniors, we can offer them AP computer science. And as of last year, we were the only school district in Southwest Wisconsin that had AP computer science outside of a larger district such as Prairie du Chien. So, it is an equity issue for sure. The school districts that are better financed, or the schools that have the ability to recruit and retain certain types of teachers, are certainly going to offer those programs. And like I said, those kids will just be better suited when they graduate from high school for those types of careers.
And Jill, you walked right into the second question. The teacher and substitute shortage has been exacerbated by COVID-19. And teachers in Wisconsin are not generally required to demonstrate proficiency in tech and comp sci standards. And those that do, as you said, are more likely to find opportunities in the private sector. So despite that shrinking supply of teachers who might be capable of achieving literacy outcomes, what public policy measures would you advocate for to ensure more capacity for tech literacy in schools?
Well, I think, one of the functions of the Department of Public Instruction is to work with teacher education programs. And so the programs are responsible for licensing, or educating teachers so that they're ready to be licensed. And part of that process is program approval. DPI does work with the schools and colleges of education. It works with the alternative licensing organizations in Wisconsin that are approved to license teachers. And so certainly, strengthening those skill sets by encouraging those schools and colleges to offer those licenses, but then also offer courses. So for example, it's in state statute that to be licensed as an educator in Wisconsin, you have to have the indigenous peoples and diversity course. For example, to be a social studies teacher like I am, we had to take courses on cooperatives and environmental education. Now teachers, elementary teachers through reading specialists at the district level have to pass the Foundations of Reading test. I think that a policy perspective on this could be that, or a policy recommendation could be that the state with the DPI recommendation says, you know what, we need our teachers to take, 1 or 2 courses in technology literacy, because what we've learned from this pandemic is that our teachers had to turn into virtual education instructors overnight. They had to do instructional design that was entirely virtual. They were not, and some school districts were, more prepared than others. Like I said, Pecatonica has had an emphasis on technology education and computer science. And so we've run books for a couple of years. And so our teachers were more familiar with it, but kids are not kids, I should say, pre-service teachers are not coming out of college with these skills necessarily. They may have their own interests, but they don't know how to do virtual instructional design. They don't know how to use perhaps the learning management systems that are pretty common in K-12. Higher ed has their own. So I think, certainly working with the colleges and the schools of education to put more importance on this, maybe making it part of the requirement of, the skill set that we would like these students to have when they graduate. But then again, the other policy side of it is these are really high-end skills. And the expectation needs to be that if we want individuals to have these skills, we have to pay them for that knowledge and that expertise. It's like education has changed so much, and we can't continue to devalue, I think, the work that teachers have and the education that they bring. We have to pay them what they're worth, because again, these skills in any other job sector or employment sector would command much higher salaries.
And Jill, finally, last question. About 52% of public high schools in Wisconsin offer a computer science course, but there are still many barriers to scaling the offerings to purposely include girls and students of color. So give us 2 to 3 examples of the largest barriers you see, and how will you and your team address those if elected?
Sure. So, as far as including more girls and students of color, there's quite a few different aspects to this. I think in a smaller school setting like Pecatonica, there are a lot of conflicts, I suppose. The electives, because computer science in our school district is an elective. I know you can count it, upper level for math, but that's another issue. But I think a lot of it, first of all, starts with choice. I mean, we have some competition between the different electives, being able to choose between, the fine arts, computer science, business, agriculture, and we just don't have enough students necessarily to pass things around. And so we have to stagger when we can offer those courses. And as far as, the other aspect I mentioned was it is very math-based, it's very logic-based. And I think there are these stereotypes or these stigmas that only certain individuals are, good at math or logic or science. And so it really starts from the younger years. And so one of the policy recommendations I would make would be what we're doing at Pecatonica, for example, is starting at the elementary level. We have the Girls Who Code program, we have the Project Lead the Way program. We use code.org, in our middle school computer sciences. And in middle school, it's required. Every kid has to take 6th, 7th, and 8th grade computers, which has a robotics component. We have an after-school robotics club, and we have good representation. But like you said, once you get to high school, it seems like that falls off. One of the things that my school board actually just started talking about at our curriculum committee meeting earlier this month was making freshman year computer science elective required. It's the first level programming course. And again, if you require it among kids, it's every kid, regardless of their race, gender, socioeconomic background, they're taking that class. And it's about relationships too. Like I said, there's the stigma or perhaps the misconception that only certain people are really good at a certain, type of subject area. But those relationships are, our middle school teacher is female, our high school teacher is male, our elementary code.org and Girls Who Code, she's female. So I think it's, having the representation in the instructors is very important as well. So one of the problems in Wisconsin is that we have we don't have a very diverse teaching force, right? And so if we want representation where, the kids who are teaching to go into, these careers like computer science and math in general, we need more people of color, we need more women also teaching these classes, because like I said, it's about relationships. And so, from a statewide perspective and a policy perspective, recruiting more individuals to go into the teaching profession in science and STEM and computer science careers. And there are some good programs that we can emulate, but again, it's back to relationships and working with the schools and colleges, perhaps looking at programs like People, programs like Educators Rising, looking at ways to have more diverse individuals or more diverse professionals move to the rural areas. So we could look at things like student loan forgiveness. Just there's different things that we can explore, and there's different policy that has happened in other states that has worked. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity, and I think we could certainly get it to work in Wisconsin.
Well, thanks, Jill, for sharing your thoughts with us today, and good luck to you in the primary.